everybody, welcome to another Professional Genealogist Reacts live stream with me, Jarrett Ross, the Genie Vlogger. Welcome everyone, thank you for joining today. I hope you're all having a wonderful time right now. We're leading up to Christmas and Hanukkah. So lots of celebrating to go on, and I guess Kwanzaa too. I'm not sure when Kwanzaa is exactly celebrated, but I know around this time. And welcome everybody. Hope you're all doing well. We'll do our typical of going through and saying the hellos. As usual, ask questions in the chat. I'll try to answer them as best possible, and no guarantees I'll be able to answer all questions in chat. But if you do a super sticker with the chat to that or a question to that, I guarantee I will answer that. But let's go and say hello. And of course, the typical first person I usually see in here, Anna Tomaso, coming in from Western New York. Thank you for joining, Anna. So wonderful to have you. Tasha Carl, hello from Minnesota. Hello, Tasha. Wonderful to have you. We have Leslie coming in from Santa Cruz, California. Hello, Leslie. Hopefully it's nice and warm out in Santa Cruz. Out here in the East Coast, it's a little bit cooler, I'm sure. Julia Joyce coming in from Hampshire, England. Hello, Julia. Always wonderful to have you as well. And Alexandra coming in from Koblenz, Germany. Hello, Alexandra. I hope you are also doing well. And Stig from Oslo. Hello, Stig. Good to have you, our Scandinavian representation, I always like to say. And Sandra Maia from Brazil. Hello, Sandra. Hola, paso to all my Brazilians and Portuguese. Udo W. Hello from Spain. Hola todos, all my hello everybody. Hello, good to have you. Good to have you. We're getting a real wide range here. And Finland, hello, Valdemies, another one of our Scandinavian representation. Although I guess a lot of Finns don't really necessarily consider themselves Scandinavian. I always feel like it's like there's Scandinavia with Denmark, Norway, and Sweden, and then Finland's like we're our own thing. Deal with it. Vincenzo, I remember you posting last time because you were posting all in Italian. So hello. Not sure how well we'll be able to help, but maybe we've got someone who can help translate Italian today, because the way the program is through StreamYard where I stream, it doesn't allow me to like just copy comments and then put it in Google Translate, which, quick, easy way to kind of at least get the gist. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll play along and see what happens. Christine Benes from Rockland, California. Hello, Christine. Good to have you. Thank you for joining. We have Ben Thompson coming in from the Villages in Florida. Very cool. The company I used to work for, DNA Labs International, is in Deerfield Beach, Florida, which I believe is pretty close to the Villages. At least if I got that right, I might be wrong. I might be wrong. Stig, we love the Finns regardless. Yeah. Well, even when it comes to DNA, I feel like the Finns have such a unique signature that even when you get finished results, it's kind of like, oh yeah, it kind of does stand out a little bit. Lee Proudfoot, hello from Shropshire in the UK. Hello, Lee. Thank you for joining. Wonderful to have you. And triangulation of matches, I think that is what Vincenzo was saying, because last time he was talking about multiple matches being triangulated, and I forgot exactly. I know there were some people commenting afterwards that were kind of helping him, but I didn't completely follow along with all of that. So, if anyone has any questions, start asking away. I'm going to blow my nose real quickly here for And hello from our wonderful Blackberry Rose in California, one of our wonderful mod admins, who is super, super helpful. Her, Charlie, Matt, and Chris as well. Chris is kind of a little bit more in the background, but they all help me out so much. There's honestly so much that I would not be able to do without them. So especially in terms of the Discord. So give a little shout out to our Discord channel. For those who don't know, we have a Discord server where you can all talk and hang out. And Valdemies, Finland is like the adopted child of Sweden. Okay. Good to know. Good to know. And Carmigale, hello from Nebraska. Today I turned 46 officially at 10:32 p.m. Happy birthday. And funny enough, you actually share a birthday with my father. Today is my dad's birthday. I don't know if he won. Well, I think I have his birthday out there, but he's turning 75. So yeah, but very cool. So you share a birthday with my dad, December 20th. So cool. Yeah, we're actually going to be doing a little celebrating tonight. Actually, speaking of which, today's stream, I'm going to try not to go too late. Or not too late. I'm probably going to not go much longer than an hour. I'm thinking maybe an hour and 15 or so. But we got birthday dinners and stuff tonight, so definitely want to make sure I make those. Maven, I managed to memorize all county names in 15 states in the last few weeks. Yeah, I saw some of the maps that you were posting in the Discord server about that, because I forgot what state it was, but someone posted something about a state and you said, "Oh, I just finished that state," or something like that. Was kind of ominous if you didn't know what you were talking about. So yeah, but that's cool. Yeah, that actually kind of reminds me of that geography quiz thing I was doing a while back, where it was like, in an hour, try to name all 3,000 some odd counties in the entire U.S. But whenever you said a county, like it wasn't, you had to say, Washington County in this state and Washington County in this state. You said Washington, it would go to all of them. So yeah, but very cool, very cool. Yeah, I will definitely let him know. Thank you so much. So yeah. That would be North Dakota. I did not. Oh yeah, that's right. Because you said something like I just finished or I just completed. Yeah, it was something ominous. If you didn't know. Dan Edwards, hola, ¿cómo está? Hope you're doing well. Yeah, still waiting on some questions, but hello, Sylvia. Hello. Yeah, I guess if we're still kind of waiting on questions, I'll just talk about some of what I've got going on, and maybe I'll show a little bit of it too. Crossing our fingers, hoping to have the next YouTuber Family Tree series out, the next episode out either tomorrow or Sunday. All depends on how much I'm able to get done tonight, obviously. But it's not going to be a Max Miller episode. That's going to be the next one that comes out. We've got lots of episodes for all of the people who've been guests so far, and people who I've been researching that I haven't done an episode on. I have so many people. It's so crazy. Like I have so much content I could make that I just don't have the ability to do because of time and energy, and just, it's just like crazy. Yeah, so I figured I've got this pulled up. Wait, I thought I had it pulled up. What did I do with that? Oh, I hit it back there. Okay, so I'm just going to throw up a map on screen, and this is just going to be kind of a, I guess you could say a sneak preview of the episode coming out. So not sure who's familiar with Janesville, Wisconsin. But this is where the main story of the next video is going to be coming out from. So yeah, that's good. I'm hoping that's going to be a good one. I'm so pleased with what I've got so far. I think it's I guess I could say true crime meets history. So yeah. Sylvia. Oh wait, we did say hello to Sylvia, but Sunny Zatrone, we did not say hello yet. Hello. Hello. Good to have you as always. And Karma, are you ready for Roots Tech? Yeah, I'm definitely ready for Roots Tech. I'm going to be doing that presentation, The Future of Genealogy. I'm giving that presentation a bunch over the past year to a bunch of different groups. And in fact, if you have any genealogy groups or historical groups or anything that want me to come and talk to them, have them hit me up in my email. I'm trying to start scheduling a lot more talks. I'm also scheduling more one-on-one consultations. So people can get those through my Patreon. But I actually am now kind of preferring to do it through my regular email. And so we can just set it up and do it that way. But through the Patreon, I have it where it's 20-minute and 40-minute sessions. But if you hit me up through email, I do it as 30-minute and hour-long sessions. And yeah, just need to make sure it all all evened out and fit well. But yeah, doing a lot of that. And so I do one-on-ones and I sit down and we go over everything together. And yeah. But yeah, so Roots Tech, I'm planning to update my talk a little bit from the last time I gave it. You know, things are constantly happening, and especially with a talk about the future of genealogy, a lot of stuff to constantly be like, hey, this is going on and this is going on. And so the most recent news I'd probably say is that Keepsake DNA, one of the main companies that does artifact testing, so that's like, you know, testing hair from they don't do hair stuff necessarily, but testing, you know, if you have grandma's dentures or you have an envelope with a stamp that you're pretty sure your great grandmother licked and you want to get their DNA as a profile, that's what artifact testing is. And so what used to be Keepsake DNA is now this company, Genetic Legacies. So same company, basically this company is under what's known as Intermountain Forensics, which is a company that was just recently purchased by my former employer, DNA Labs International. And there's a lot of crazy things going on here in terms of these two companies combining, because one of the things that I've been pushing for is for technology we didn't develop at DNA Labs International, but we were able to get properly accredited and everything and online and working. It's this new technology that if we could use that on the consumer market for artifact testing, things will be very different in terms of the possibility of getting viable profiles. Because the biggest issue with artifact testing right now is that you send in your artifact or whatever, you have a real low chance of getting a viable profile because you're looking at really low amounts of DNA and you're also looking at really degraded DNA. And for everyone who's done a DNA test, think about how much you had to do, how much DNA you had to give them. You either did the spit test where you had that tube and you had to spit a big amount in that tube, or you had two buccal swabs that you had to go and swab on, you know, one on each side of the mouth. And so lots of DNA. And then think about, you know, DNA from an envelope. Like, sure, there's DNA, you know, sealed in that stamp, you know, between the stamp and the envelope, but it's very degraded. It's, you know, DNA is protein. It breaks down over time. And yeah, so the combination of the new technology that DNA Labs International has online, which is known as Kintelligence, in conjunction with artifact testing for the consumer market, would be a major game changer in that part of the field. That has not happened yet. That's kind of been my prediction. In fact, when I was working at DNA Labs International, I said multiple times about how I felt that was something that would, you know, once it reached the consumer market. The biggest downside with all of this, though, beyond the difficulties of the, you know, getting a viable profile, it's not cheap. I don't know what they say on their yeah. Okay, so you can see. So there's two phases, and I think I've mentioned this before. We have phase one, DNA extraction. So this is sending in the item and then extracting the DNA. So you have to pay $400 just to get the extraction. Then once they've done the extraction, they do some different things with it to kind of get it much better of a profile. One of the main things they call amplification. But basically, once they've gotten that and they figure out if they can sequence it, then they go into that. And this is where the question of will they use Kintelligence, because there's three options. There's what's known as the autosomal SNP array, and that's what we use typically for Ancestry, 23andMe, Family Tree DNA's Family Finder, and MyHeritage and all that. But then there's also whole genome sequencing. Is that coming? Let me make that bigger. I'm sorry, people. I always forget that it's a lot harder to see on the screen for you all when it's coming through. But anyway, okay. So there's the autosomal SNP, and then there's whole genome sequencing. It looks like, I guess, they only do whole genome sequencing, which makes sense because I know that they have whole genome sequencing online, and that was part of why DNA Labs was interested in purchasing them, is because for DNA Labs International to be able to make their own whole genome sequence profiles, that's a big deal instead of having to pay for it themselves, especially in terms of workflow process. And it makes it a lot faster for a case to get through and start working on. But anyway, there's whole genome sequencing. But the thing is you need a certain amount of DNA. And if you don't have enough of that DNA, then you're not going to be able to get a sequenced profile. But With Kintelligence, it uses way less DNA. And you can get viable profiles with Kintelligence with as little as like 1 nanogram of DNA. Whereas I can't remember 100% sure, so don't quote me on these numbers, but it's about like for whole genome sequencing, I think they need like 5 or 10 nanograms at least to get a viable profile. And even then, there's not always that possibility that that'll happen. So yeah, cool. I guess from the question, are you ready for Roots Tech? Maybe that was very interesting for you all. Hopefully it was, but yeah. Glitch controller fan, just lost my godmother. Very sorry to hear that. Sorry for your loss. Hopefully you can get through these difficult times. Well, yeah. So sorry to hear about that. Alexandra, have you considered to do a webinar on legacy family tree webinars? Actually, yeah, I submitted in their last round of submissions. They didn't accept any of them. So I don't know. We'll see. I forgot exactly what it was, but I think I remember when I was looking at this stuff, it was kind of like, oh, it's, yeah, I don't know. I've seen some legacy family tree webinars and stuff, but I'm not super familiar with them. So I don't know, but I think I didn't submit anything that was like any of my main talks, like my, the future of genealogy or success with Jewish DNA, or the ones that are usually the talks people really, really want. Instead, I think I submitted the one about the Alliance Colony, and I think I submitted one about research for Western Sephardic Jews. I think it was actually my Iberia to Amsterdam talk, which is about the Portuguese Jewish community of Amsterdam. So they didn't accept what I submitted, but it is what it is. Maybe in the future. So I mean, I wasn't accepted for a lot of different conferences and stuff for a while, and now I get accepted all the time. So it's like I actually have to limit myself on what I submit now, because if I submit too much, sometimes it hasn't happened to me, but I know for other genealogists, they submit a lot of talks and then they're like, we want all of them. It's like, oh, wow. Okay. Carmen Gal might have something for artifact testing possibility. That would be nice to do, especially if I have something on my paternal grandpas. Yeah. Artifact testing is going to be huge if it gets to a point of high viability profiles. It's a lot that you have to pay for, and a lot of possibility of it not coming through now. So people ask me all the time, should I, what's my suggestion on do artifact testing now or wait? And I always say that it's probably best to wait at this point, especially if you only have a couple of items, or even more, you only have like 1 or 2 items. Because one thing to consider too is with artifact testing, whatever you send in, you have to send it in with the understanding that they may not send it back, because to get the DNA, they might have to destroy it. So if you have one envelope from your great grandmother that you really cherish and you're hoping to get DNA from it, well, you might send it in, never get it back, and not get a viable profile from it. But it varies, for some people, maybe you have a ton of items and maybe, a budget for something like this is not out of the possibility. It might be worthwhile to try. Nicole, my father's paternal line is a big mystery past his grandparents. On family tree DNA, I tested his Y DNA matches at 111 and only had 36 matches, all or 9 genetic steps or more. Okay, yeah, that's unfortunate, but that happens. But for 12 through 37 markers, I have a bunch that are exact matches. Are these useful matches? No one has a useful family tree link to their account. Is it worth upgrading to the big Y for more info? So at this point, it doesn't seem like it would be super worthwhile to upgrade to big Y for the more info, because the only thing that you're really going to get from that is you're going to get a more exact relation to all of the people who have also tested with big Y. So the reason why the people that are at the 12 to 37 markers are exact matches is because the fewer amounts of markers they're testing, then the higher the chance that you're going to match on all of them. So some of these matches that are exact matches for the 12 through 37 may be useful, but the thing is you have to go through and find every single one that you can then see in the 67 marker and the 111 marker aren't in there as well. Basically, you're looking for the matches where their test was either a 37 or less. because basically these are the profiles where if they were to do a 111, there is that possibility that maybe they will match at a closer genetic distance than 9. Which 9 genetic distance, meaning 9 markers are different, is a pretty big gap. I mean, that's thousands of years between your line and these lines. Now, in terms of the matching for big Y, that it's not necessarily useful, but if big Y is not necessarily a huge, it's not an issue in terms of budgeting, it may be useful for you just in getting a little bit better of an idea of where everything fits in, especially in that you get placed specifically in the phylogenetic tree. And then you can kind of look at things like the block tree or the forgot what they call it, but the like historical tree. Like there's the timeline trees, and like there's different ways they do it with the big Y that can make it helpful in understanding. But it's not. But if you do the big Y, just understand that once you do it, it's not like all of a sudden you're going to have these like matches that all of a sudden pop up that are amazing, because you already have, your best matches are the matches that test the most markers, and the ones that are at 111 markers, as you mentioned, well, they're at best matching at a 9 genetic distance. So, you'll just test big Y and get a better idea of how are they, 2 to 4,000 years apart, or are they 1 to 2,000 years apart from you, and things like that. So, but if you also do the big Y, it sets you up very well. If then you do another one if you do big Y and then another person tests big Y that then is from that line. One thing I will say though, is that one useful thing with the big Y at this point is that if you do big Y, you can then upload that into other Y-DNA databases. So my favorite is YFull. I know there's, I think Snipedia, I think is one, or is it Upedia? I forgot. Maybe there's multiple of those, but YFull is a really good one, and you can upload in there, and there may be people in there that didn't test in family tree DNA, because some people test through whole genome sequencing to get their full Y, and so you might get a match in there. So that's also something to consider. I'd be interested in doing a whole genome for my grandparents. I have a rare genetic condition that we confirmed came from my father and we expected from his father. Would be nice to know. Whole genome sequencing, that is one of the best uses for it, is if you are doing deep dive medical stuff, especially if you do it through one of the sites where they have the gene browser and the chromosome browser. So like you can, there's 2 different types of browsers. There's the genome browser where you can look at every single specific base pair. So you can look at every single base pair spot and how the reads are going, and you see the stacking of the reads. And then there's the gene mappers. And the gene mappers are where you can then look at the genes, because, with a gene that incorporates a lot more than, single base pair. And so when you do whole genome sequencing, that's kind of where people get really into the nitty gritty of stuff. Just with the caveat of, as you go through it, that if you do come into any information about certain things, make sure that you consult a geneticist in all of that before you kind of come to a final conclusion. But, based on what you're saying, especially if it's a rare genetic condition, I'm guessing you're probably already working with geneticists in some sort of way. And maybe they were the ones who pushed you to that. Rob Hogan-Esch, evening all. Early start today. Yeah, early start. As mentioned before, not everyone was in here. It's my father's birthday. Also Carmen Gal's birthday. So happy birthday to both. But because of that, I'm only going to try to go for maybe an hour and 15 minutes or so. So we're only about 24 minutes in now. So we still got some time. But yeah, started early. So yeah. Gazillion PT, I see you prepared a file for a cousin to obtain Portuguese citizenship. Are you considering one for yourself? Yeah, so I actually, the first things I did ever before I became a professional genealogist, that would be a professional-esque sort of thing, was I wrote multiple reports for cousins of mine throughout the world to get their Portuguese citizenship. The most distant one being a 4th cousin who was living in either Australia or New Zealand. I think it's New Zealand. I can't remember 100% sure. Oh gosh, I don't know if he even watches this stuff, but I helped him. I helped a couple of other cousins. I've considered it myself. I know it's funny because I do want to do it, but then it's like, I don't know. I've just never really like just taken the energy to go through and actually get it done. But I obviously qualify. I've gotten cousins of mine qualified. They have their Portuguese citizenship. They have their passport and everything. So yeah. But yeah, it's just something that I guess I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I need to do it. That's it. That's really what it is. I just need to do it. I just haven't done it, but I have the ability to do it. So I should. Although right now, I mean, I don't know where the law is now. They've been kind of all over the place after the whole Roman Abramovich fiasco. That was kind of, yeah. So actually, I should mention for anyone who doesn't know, the Roman Abramovich fiasco was basically Roman Abramovich, a Russian oligarch who is Jewish, basically applied for his Portuguese citizenship and got it through this fast track law for people who are descendants of Sephardic Jews. And so basically years ago, I think it was 10 years or 12 years ago or so, Portugal passed this law, fast track citizenship. And when Roman Abramovich did it, it became big news. And somehow his submission got leaked, I think. And I from what I remember, it was the actual thing. I haven't been able to find it again, so I need to find it again. But I remember going through it, and I remember it basically amounting to his proof being that, like, his grandmother told a story about Sephardic ancestry or something, which for all of us who research in Sephardic genealogy, one of the things that we often find is that in Poland in the 18th century, it was really cool. It was like really exotic to have Sephardic ancestry. And so a lot of families all of a sudden had these stories of Sephardic ancestors, all these people that were living in areas of basically present day Poland and Lithuania and Latvia and stuff like that. I guess a little bit of Belarus too. But basically all within there. And now there's all these families that are like, oh yeah, we were told that our ancestor in 18th century Poland was actually Sephardic. And it's basically the equivalent of, like, in the Americas, American families having Native American ancestry. And you hear this as a myth all the time. And sometimes they can prove it, but most of the time there's no proof of it. And sort of similar thing with the Poland thing. But basically, Roman Abramovich basically got the citizenship from that. And a lot of Sephardic genealogists have had a big issue with this law for a long time, in just the sense that they didn't consult genealogists, and they didn't know what they were doing in terms of how to prove it. And this article written by my buddy David Mendoza, who's been featured in the channel in a few different episodes. He also runs the group Sephardic World along with Tone Thielen, and then on Facebook, David, myself, and Tone Thielen and Michael Waz are the administrators of the Sephardic diaspora group. But he wrote this article kind of talking about different stuff with it. And he talks about things with, like, the genealogy proof standard, and just kind of just different issues of things. I don't 100% agree with everything he says, but I'd probably say like 98%. Yeah. So yeah, the genealogy proof. So yeah. So he talks about different stuff. It's been a thing going on for a while. But yeah. All right. So short story long, I need to get my Portuguese citizenship. Ben Thompson, done FT, DNA, Ancestry, etc. My maternal grandmother was adopted. Have her adoption papers. That's good. I'm guessing the non-identifying papers, but okay. I found her parents. Mitochondrial DNA, genetic distance 0. Many names all unknown to me, yet exact matches. Now what? Unfortunately, with mitochondrial DNA, it mutates at a much slower rate than the Y chromosome does. So when you do mitochondrial DNA genetic distance, it's much bigger gaps than what you get with Y DNA. So if you have a Y DNA match that's a genetic distance of 0, that's really good. And depending on what level you've tested, it can get within, the genealogical time window, within like a 300 to 500 year window. Or closer. Mitochondrial DNA distance, you could have genetic matches who are distance of 0, and your connection is like 1,000 years back. So that's one of the unfortunate things. To give an example, my matrilineal line traces back to Suwałki, Poland in the 18th century. And I think 18th century, actually I have to double check that because I've only recently uncovered that line. But basically that traces back not super far, but kind of like early 19th century, late 18th century, I want to say, in Suwałki, Łomża area. And basically I'm trying to think of how to put this right. Famous genealogist Megan Smoleniak is a 1 genetic distance from me, and her entire matrilineal line, I believe, is Irish. I know it's at least somewhere in the British Isles, but I'm pretty sure that her matrilineal line is Irish, and it traces back to like 19th century or 18th century Ireland. And so we're a genetic distance of 1, and our connection could date back to 2,000 years. So I always kind of like to use that as an example. But yeah, with mitochondrial DNA, it's a lot harder to make the correlation. One of the other issues too, I think, with mitochondrial DNA is that far fewer people have taken mitochondrial DNA than Y chromosome tests and autosomal tests. Obviously, autosomal far exceeds everything else. So if more people did mitochondrial DNA, I think that could be a big help over time, because, over time, hopefully, figuring out certain variations of things might help. So like one of the things that they do in family tree DNA when you do a mitochondrial DNA test is they give you readings for the different samples. I'm trying to remember. I think it's RCS is one. Let's see. What is it? Basically, they have like 2 standard mitochondrial DNA profiles that is the, comparison. What do they call it? But they give 2 of them. I'm looking at ISOGG's website right now to see if I can find it. I might as well put it up here for all of you to see. Not sure how easy it'll be. So, but we're family tree DNA. Let's see if I can find it. All right, you know what? Just log into my own profile. Just log into my own profile and do that. Okay, there we go. Logging in. Boop, 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 boom. Mutation. So if you go into your results and tools, mitochondrial DNA, and then mutations, if it loads, I don't want to share it just yet. I want to make sure that there's nothing, I don't want public showing up. It is taking forever to load, though. By the way, I'm kind of curious. I'll have to look back and see if things are coming through clear right now, because we just upgraded our modem or whatever. I have it direct connected in, and I always had it direct connected in. Why is it not loading? Oh my god! DNA. But yeah, so hopefully it should be coming through nicer. Is there like website down or something? What is going on? Let's try this again. Mutations. Oh, I guess I need to catch up on chat. I just realized I'm 16 minutes behind where this question's at. So, all right. Well, while I wait for that to hopefully load at some point, I don't know what's going on there. I am going to continue. Let's see. Okay, Christine Bennis. I live in the USA. Is it possible to look for my living mom's birth certificate in China? She lives in the USA. Her deceased mother falsely falsified the birthday when she was a small child going to Hong Kong. I honestly, that's something I wouldn't necessarily know. But the first thing that I would do to try to look that up is I would look up the Family Search Wiki on Chinese records. Because I just have not done any Chinese genealogy. But I would go in here. This is the site. I'm going to put it in the chat for you. And basically, there's a few things you can go through. There's different guides to help with it. You can go and just go quickly and see what's online and available, which makes sense. Not a lot, but maybe you can find something. But then there's also the location. So this could be at least a start to just see what could you start to get to. Because so I mean, Hong Kong, so what is that, Guangzhou, or I guess Guangdong? Yeah. So I mean, this is kind of what I was thinking, is finding things like this where it's not necessarily going to give you, quick, easy, but at least you can contact something to reach out to, somebody to reach out to. So someone here, this might help you find it, or at least figure out, is it possible to find? So yeah, hopefully that's helpful for you. Okay. I'm gonna try to jump forward a little bit, just to catch up, because I realize how far back I am. Okay, yeah. Okay, Ben Thompson, identifying papers know her birth name. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, a lot of people get those non-identifying papers, and then you gotta play the who's who game or whatever. Find someone who fits that profile. PZ, I actually have an Eastern Sephardic line that ended up in Poland. They came from Thessaloniki. They adopted the name Sudfeld because they came from the south. Interesting. So you actually have like the documentation that shows and proves that. Because I'm sure there were people that definitely Sephardic Jews who ended up in Poland. But yeah, I'd be interested to see what kind of documentation supports that, because I'm sure there's something, because one of the things that we found through the Amsterdam community is they had what's known as despachos, which was this it was this fund that the community used to help pay for poor members of the community to migrate elsewhere, often to other Sephardic Jewish communities. And so within those records, they often say where it's from. And within my family, we have one of the Nunes Vaz family members going from Amsterdam to Suriname in the 1700s. We have, how many, he was given like 700 guilders and the date that he left and all that stuff. And so, I wouldn't be surprised if there were other similar records like that in some of the other communities. But yeah, very interesting. Very interesting. I'll keep an eye out to see if you can mention what record sets that's coming from, because be interested to learn about that. Rob, is Tone Thielen Jewish or just very interested? I think he's just very interested. I think he's just, very intrigued by it. I know that he, I know that he was telling me about, oh wait, maybe I'm confused. I might be confusing, but I remember him telling me something about, like in his house, he had stuff about, like butchers and shochits and stuff. But I can't remember if that was just like a butcher or if it was like a Jewish butcher or something. And I don't know if that was the impetus for him to be interested in it. But yeah, I think he's just interested, but I'm not 100% sure. All right. I need to blow my nose for a second. All right. Callum Tate, I'm waiting for my grandmother's mitochondrial DNA results. All right. That's awesome that you got her to do the mitochondrial DNA. It doesn't make a big difference because that mutation rate is so slow on it. What are you doing? What are you barking at, dude? Dog emojis in the chat if you hear the dogs barking. So, all right, let's see. Leslie, very cool being one away from Megan Smoleniak. Now you don't have to prove it. You are related to her husband. Great video she did on her work proving her surname. Well, this wasn't this. Wait, now you don't have to prove it. You are related. I'm not related to her husband. I'm related to her mitochondrially through our mitochondrial DNA. If we trace up my purely maternal line and Megan Smoleniak's purely maternal line, that's where we find it. It's just that connection somewhere between like 1,000 and 2,000 years or something. But yeah, very cool. John Tyner, good evening from Ireland. Was meant to have gallbladder surgery, but low blood pressure after they took bloods. They decided to reschedule. Oh, no. Hopefully you're feeling well. I know if you're having gallbladder surgery, things might be going on that are not very comfortable. So hopefully that's not the case, but hopefully you're doing well. But yeah, good to have you here, John. Adam Biros, good evening from Slovakia tonight. Good evening, Adam. Wonderful to have you. John, are you working on Smoleniak? No. When years ago when I saw the connection, I sent her an email, and I think I sent her a follow-up email, but I don't think I ever heard from her. She's one of the genealogists in the community who I'm not sure if I ever met her in person, and I've never really actually talked much with her. I think we follow each other on some social media stuff, and I think we've liked each other's posts and stuff, but it hasn't really been any connection beyond that, at least that I don't remember. But I feel like I would have remembered that because she was one of those genealogists that when I first started out, it was like she was like one of the leading lights, I guess you could say. It was like her, CC Moore, oh my gosh, I can't remember her name, but the former lead genealogist for Finding Your Roots who passed away, and they still use the image of her walking up and down the aisle of the microfilm and microfiche. I can't remember her name. Oh my gosh. But yeah, they were kind of, some of the early ones that I was when I first started getting really into it around 2008, 2009, that I was taking in their content. So Callum, there was a very good webinar with Family Search collaborating with Chinese Ancestry Research Facebook group on Chinese genealogy just yesterday. Oh, very cool. So yeah, whoever was looking for that Chinese Ancestry, maybe you can get a hold of that, or at least join this Chinese genealogy group. With Chinese surnames, you really need to have the correct character. Interesting. Yeah. Well, that's, who knows with the information that her and her mom has, if they can get in touch with someone who is knowledgeable enough, maybe they can figure things out, or at least in a way where they can search to see what's possibly out there. Yeah. So, all right. Let's see. Leia, my father came from Czechia, and I have just found so many relatives just doing my tree on Ancestry. I think I want to have my genetics DNA done, but where? I know I'm Czech, Norwegian, and Swedish. Well, my suggestion would be Ancestry. Number one, you have a lot of relatives doing trees on Ancestry. More than likely, a lot of them have done DNA testing through Ancestry, but I know that getting DNA tests from Ancestry isn't always the easiest when you're in areas that aren't quite the typical areas they're usually at. So Czechia being, Central Europe, I think that's right outside of it. I don't know if Scandinavians get very good access to Ancestry DNA kits. I know we have some of our Scandinavian representation in the chat. So if you can tell us your experience with that. But I would say Ancestry, and make sure once you get those results, get those into MyHeritage, Family Tree DNA, and GEDmatch, and Living DNA. I don't know how well Living DNA is with that stuff, but one thing I can say for sure, out of all of those companies, MyHeritage has time and time again had the best database of people still in areas of Central and Eastern Europe and Scandinavia, and actually South America is a really good one too, especially Brazil. But basically they have a lot of representation there because years ago when they started doing the DNA testing, they made sure to have a really robust distribution system throughout the world. And that allowed them to ship their DNA tests to far more places than a lot of the other tests. And that allows them to have a lot of people in their database that you can't find in others, but are the people that are still in those areas. So with your dad coming from Czechia, if you're especially looking for relatives still in Czechia or, wherever they may be, your father came from Czechia, but when did Czechia split from Czechoslovakia? I can never remember that. Or I guess Czech Republic, excuse me. 93. So, okay. So, so anywhere in those areas, because it could be Slovakia, maybe areas of even Germany or something, or maybe, go south into the Balkans and maybe some of the family are down there too. So that would be my suggestion. Test on Ancestry, upload to MyHeritage, Family Tree DNA, and 23andMe. 23andMe does not allow uploads. But if budget is not an issue, I would suggest testing an Ancestry and 23andMe, because the name of the game when it comes to genetic genealogy is DNA matches. And the wider net you cast, the more matches you get. And you just never know which database has that one relative that helps break through your brick wall. So, okay. PZ, yes, I have a paper trail man called Oser went to Thessaloniki. He had a son called Yehuda ben Oser, born in Greece, who had a son, Yosef ben Yehuda, who was a rabbi who was born in Greece. Interesting. Okay. So I'm waiting for the day I send my saliva sample in the mail for it to go to lab and get my results after 4 to 6 weeks from what I was reading. Oh, wait. That sounds more like a statement than a question. I'm waiting. I don't know. Are you waiting? Yo no sé, way. PZ, unfortunately, I don't have a paper trail of female lines going that far back. Yeah, unfortunately for a lot of folks, it can be very difficult. Yeah, Chinese genealogy research is very different to the rest of the world. Yeah, honestly, any time you get into cultures where there is a much bigger difference of various things, especially language-wise, you notice a lot of variations. Just between, if you're doing English research, whether it's in America or England or Canada or Australia or New Zealand or whatever, and then you start doing research in, Germany or the Netherlands or Belgium or, places like that, it's very familiar. But then you start getting into more Eastern Europe and the Slavic countries where they're using the Cyrillic language, it gets even crazier. And then, you get even further out. So, I'm sure Indian genealogy and Pakistani genealogy and all that's very, very different. So yeah, it's all so different. Larnaus, I descended from a family who may be of Sephardic origin, Hancorn family. It seems speculative, not sure though. Hancorn family. I have not heard of them before. Welsh. Okay, the Hancorn family were prominent landed family living chiefly in the English countries of Warwickshire and Herefordshire. I'm sure I butchered that. The Welsh counties of Breconshire and Glamorgan between the Carolina in the 19th century. According to family tradition, the Hancorns are descended from 3 brothers who fled from Britain or fled to Britain from Spain to avoid religious persecution. Unfortunately, we are hitting one of the genealogy tropes that we often see in family stories is the story of the 3 brothers who escaped. I actually had that same story in my family tree for the Nunes Vaz side. In fact, so my mom, born Nunes Vaz, growing up, always knew about cousins all over the world. Well, at one point, they had my mom, my mom went on a trip to Curacao. And we had cousins in Curacao who were distant. We actually didn't even know how we were related, but we figured out how we were related because originally my grandfather had met this cousin because when he went to Curacao, he looked in the phone book and found a Nunes Vaz because my grandfather was Myron Nunes Vaz. So he looked in the Curacao phone book, found a Nunes Vaz, went to the guy's shop, and he and my grandfather looked exactly alike. And the story is that he went up to the guy and said, "Mr. Nunes Vaz, hello, my name is Mr. Nunes Vaz." And then they started talking, and they basically were like, both had that story of these three known as Vaz brothers who escaped and then went to different areas of the world, sort of thing. So that is a very common trope within the genealogy world. In fact, if anyone else has that same sort of similar story of those three brothers or the brothers that let us know. But yeah, okay. So DHH Granger suggests the family were of Marrano origin. I hate that people still use Marrano. It's so stupid that they do. It's much better to say of Converso origin. Yeah. But of course, okay, they do have separate pages. I was going to say, I couldn't tell if they had a merge or not. Because this is the type of thing where you'll get people on Wikipedia who are like, this is the same thing, merge them. But okay, so it's just this one guy, DHH Granger. Let's see what we got. Okay. So let's see. What is it? Handcorn? Oh, wait. Oh, no, that's searching the whole thing. Where's the... There we go. Okay, the Handcorn family. The Handcorn family, a family of the name of Handcorn, has been living in Herefordshire since the 17th century. So here's the interesting thing. Oh, this is what is styled Marranos. Jewish Christian. Okay, from Spain to England, and it seems likely that the Handcorns belong to the group of people. Yeah, so I mean, it's possible. The thing is that doesn't really fit the story here is why would they not stay Jewish? I mean, if Jews were fleeing to London at that time, we had Bevis Marks, the Bevis Marks community, which was built in 1701, but I'm trying to remember when did Cromwell let Jews back in? Yeah, 1656 is when he let Jews back in. So maybe that's why. Maybe they arrived before 1656. Because I have so far been unsuccessful in finding evidence confirming the truth of this tradition. The only available facts being that I have copied some 60 entries from parish registers of Whitney-on-Wye, ranging from 1654 to the middle of the 19th century in the College of Arms, and informed me that a grant of arms was made to the family in 1627. Yeah, it is worthy of note that the facial appearance of members of the family is still considered to be of a Spanish or Southern European type. Of course, they use looks for that. And I believe that some 300 years ago, there was a movement of Jewish Christians, Marranos from Spain to England. There were, but that was after 1656 when Cromwell allowed them back in. And then there was basically the Portuguese and the Spanish and Portuguese community, the S&P of London, as they call it. Which is funny because, for anyone who's in the S&P, for money. But yeah, so the Sephardic community. Now, I don't know when the Sephardic community in London began exactly. My family was part of the community in the 19th century, but, my focus has mostly been on the Amsterdam community for the Portuguese Jews. But yeah, so this is kind of where I would think they would go, except for the fact that what matches up is that if they were arriving before 1656, maybe that's why they, wouldn't go to areas of Wales for one, and then on top of that, not stay Jewish. But researchers today have a possibility to solve this with the help of the records from Torah de Tombo. Because if this is true, well, even more actually beyond that, why DNA? Why DNA? There's got to be handcorns today that are around. And if there are, male handcorns where they trace their patrilineal line up to this Thomas Handcorn this Thomas Hancorn died 1644. Well, okay, where did he die? 1644. Oh wait. So the family was here. When did the family come over? Because a grant of arms was made for the family in 1627, but I'm assuming that. Okay, well, their source is the. Where am I? I'm losing it. Where was? Did I just get rid of it? Did I just close it out? Maybe I did. Oh yeah. Okay, so basically, the College of Arms have informed me that a grant of arms was made to the family in 16. So they would have had to have been in England or in the areas of Wales in 1627. So that could be the story. But the thing is, processo records are another possibility. Even better if they do Y-DNA testing and they can figure out what connection that family may be. Because I mean, I don't know where the Hancorn name is necessarily coming from. It certainly sounds like something that's not really Spanish or Portuguese, but I could be wrong. There's all sorts of names out there that are Spanish and Portuguese that I probably haven't heard of before. But doing Y-DNA testing, biggest thing. But the Torre de Tombo records, the processo. So Torre de Tombo is the main digital archive or the main archive in Portugal. Oh wait, why am I copying that? I just moved this over. This is the main one in Portugal, and they have processo records dating back years and years and years. And with a lot of processo records, I wonder if I can find any from my family that I've had. Let's see, is this one of them? No, I don't think that's one of them. But basically, if you can go through the processo records with someone who knows what they're doing and find a processo that links up, like the processos, the Inquisition, I mean, it's literally, it's a long question and answer. It's a court record. It's that, who's this, who's that? And they have these people talk about their entire families. And these processos are what allow us to know so much about a lot of these families that are in the areas of or that are in the larger Sephardic diaspora throughout the world. So if this is true for your family, then I would expect that you could probably find some sort of link up of some cousin saying, oh, I have these cousins that live here, because for like a lot of Amsterdam families, that's exactly what we have, is the record saying, oh, I have cousins that live here. Right. I am going to pull one up because I think it'd be really cool for everyone to be able to see one. So give me a second. Going to find one. It's just going to take me un momento. But I think that's going to be your best bet overall. That process. Find a Y-DNA tester if possible. Could be hard. You just got to learn descendancy research. And then, wait, how do I search in here? Oh, there we go. And then hopefully connecting with processos. Okay, here we go. Here we go. So this is what they look like. Let's actually... I always do this on their website because it's so clunky to me. So front page of it, and then it always zooms in. I hate that. I hate that. So this is a Proceso de Manuel de Arroyo Navarro. We're going to get to the juicy part. And so this is what they look like. I mean, these are the records, and it's them talking about their family. So let's jump in the middle. And for any of our Portuguese speakers, I'm sure this is even more intriguing because you can actually probably kind of read it a little bit. So I'll kind of just leave that part up on. But these are the records that are available that you could actually go through and possibly prove this stuff. So this processo that we're actually looking at right now is one that I was using for my Nunes Vaz family, because this processo actually links up to us tangentially, because the oldest ancestor of my family is a man named Jacob Nunes Vaz, who married a woman who their witness for the marriage was a niece, Sarah Ribeiro. And then we have another Nunes Vaz in Amsterdam. We don't know how he links to anybody, but he was an Aaron Nunes Vaz who is marrying a Ribeiro. And we had a bunch of information on her and her father, because her father had written a letter to the notary in 1723, I think it was, basically approving of the marriage and actually saying that Aaron Nunes Vaz was a nephew of his, which could mean a cousin in the way they put it. But basically, this processo is a processo that talks about this Ribeiro family and connects into the Ribeiro family, and was allowed us to build that out. So I have a hypothesis on how they connect. None of it's proven yet, but this is one of the records that we're using now. I have to give props to Michael Waz, who's the person that actually helped find this for me. I am not a specialist when it comes to this part of the Sephardic research. I'm very much specialized in the Western Sephardic communities, most specifically Amsterdam, as I've mentioned, but I have a little bit of experience with this. So this processo is from a little bit later, so 1700s, but you can see names sticking out. Antonio Navarro, born in Madura. Yeah, I think that's it. I could be wrong. So yeah. Okay. All right, let's continue, because I just realized this question is from 17 minutes ago, and I need to end this in the next 10, 15 minutes or so, I think. But yeah, very interesting question. So, Nick, goedenavond van Groningen. Goedenavond, hoe gaat het? It's good to have you here. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to try to jump. Dankjewel. I'll tell my dad. I was trying to think how to say that. Yeah, because I don't know how to say, like, I will tell. Like, I know how to say I want to tell. Ik wil praten. No, that's I don't know. Either way, I'm learning. Ik leer. Ik wil leer meer. Stig, well, 60 euros just checked. Oh, Oh, okay, your ancestry test. Okay. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to just jump up a little bit, see where we're at. Okay, yeah, I see some thank yous and all that. Okay. A lot of people helping each other. A lot of the Chinese genealogies continued the talk. Okay, here, I see one that I can answer. Good last main question. Maybe I'll do another one after this. I don't know. Maybe I'll end up going another half hour or so instead of only 15. Who knows? Hoi! Hello, hoe gaat het? Do you know any documents about Jewish population in Ukraine? Yes. As far as I know, my mother's side was Crimean Tatar, but different websites suggest Jewish heritage, 1 to 5%. Now, I don't know how well the records are for Crimea, unfortunately. The thing is, everyone knows about what's going on in Ukraine right now, but it dates back for the Crimea a little bit further, before a lot of the digitization efforts in Ukraine really picked up steam. So I don't know if there's been anything like that in Crimea. The best possibility is finding things that are in other areas that might relate to it. So this here, I'm going to link in chat. This is a Wikimedia. Actually, this is the Jewish towns, isn't it? Yeah, Jewish towns. So this is the Jewish towns. I'm going to link that in chat for you. And you can just, if you have Google Translate, you just put it on Google Translate, and then you can see the breakdown of it. Now, that's where I'm not sure you're going to find anything for Crimea necessarily. But one other thing you can do is they also have the General Archive website. So this is not just Jewish records. This is everything. So maybe you need to find something beyond just that. So we have this. State Archives in the Autonomous Republic, pre-Roman period. So, I mean, it looks like they have some things. So depending on, one other thing is, if you don't know quite yet, you need to figure out where in Crimea that they are from, because that's going to, that'll change, where you're looking. But so these are the available records they have. And let's say this is the book that you need. You go in, and then I guess they don't have one for this. So if they had a thing, yeah. So if they had something there, I'm surprised that's blue. Why is it not? Okay, let's try one of these. I guess they just don't have it. So yeah, so they have these different fonts. All right, so here's one. Yeah, see, part of it, they're constantly working on this stuff, constantly getting things uploaded, and it's a grind for them to get it. Yeah, no wonder this is, yeah. So usually this is where you're going to see the pages and stuff. But all right, let's go back and I can show you something else. So yeah, let's see. Let's go to Kiev, and then we'll just do a random one. And so these aren't indexed. They're not searchable. Well, let me correct myself. Some are indexed. And what you can do is to look for the ones that are indexed. You'll see something like this on the side. But it's not like they're digitally indexed. They're indexed like this. So much better than cursive Cyrillic, but still somewhat difficult. But just going through the book, I mean, it's literally the digitized book. It'll load. So yeah, it's just the book. You just scroll through, and so you've got your records, and let's see if I can read anything. My Cyrillic's okay, but let's see, what is that? Yeah, Davig something. One of the things that I learned is when it comes to these records, one of the things I learned about names is, like, if you ever see it looks like Burr, that means Vich. So this is Dejkovic something or something like that. I'm not sure. But yeah, that's always Vich, and yeah. So yeah, I guess actually that reminds me, we haven't seen Sajuk in a while. I hope Sajuk is doing okay, our Ukrainian representation. And Sajuka also is someone who's helped me in my research and translating things. So hopefully she's doing okay. But yeah, so these are the available records. Burke, I have some DNA matches with people who have the surname Litvin and its variations. Okay, yeah. One thing you can do too, if you haven't checked Jewish Gen, search on Jewish Gen as well. Yeah, I know you're talking about the Hancorn family we were talking about before. I don't think I have anything up on them, but yeah, that I imagine that surname could have been adopted in the UK. One reason why Y-DNA testing would be so great is, number one, it will show very conclusively if it is a Sephardic family, or at the very least a Jewish family. Next is that it should at least hopefully give some idea of a possible surname. So, I'm sure we'll see they'd see tons of matches who are handcorns, who descend from this handcorn who came in the 1600s, because that's a lot of hundreds of years for a family to spread all over the UK and all of that and only know the handcorn name. But hopefully once you see the matches that are beyond that, then you can see some sort of possible correlation with the surname. So, yeah. Illyrian, our Twitch representation. Good to have you. Navarro, it is a typical surname of Jewish people in the time of the Reconquista. Jews used to take surnames from where they were, in this case, Navarra. Yeah, basically, one of the things that we found in comparing all of the top 100 Spanish surnames and top 100 Portuguese surnames to the top surnames of Sephardic families and stuff, it's like a direct correlation. Like the top 100 surnames of the Spanish, I think you find amongst all the Sephardic Jews, and then like 99 out of the top 100 Portuguese surnames. So yeah. But yeah, that's a lot of names with the Portuguese and Spanish were either, kind of coming from where they were, or, various things. Yeah. I'm Mom Plus 5. Hello. Good to have you. Thank you for joining. Not going to be going too much longer, but good to have you before we end things. Yeah. Thank you very much. I didn't know about this at all. Well, I'm glad to have helped. And now I've given you lots and lots of things to do over the next week. Gina, I think a surname ending in Vich. Vichy is son of, and Vicha is daughter of, if I'm not mistaken. Well, what you're talking about, it looks more like you're talking not this area, but more like Polish. So when I'm saying Vitz, I'm actually thinking like Vich, whereas it is son of, that is correct, but daughter would be Nov, N-O-V. So, like you'd have Berkovich or Berkanov. So Berkovich, son of Berko, Berkanov, daughter of Berko. So yeah, I mean, same, typical patronymic stuff. You go to Scandinavia, you got all sorts of, Olasons and Ola's daughters, and I guess it's Ulason and Ula's daughters, and Hansons and Hans daughters, and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, very typical patronymics. But yeah, that's the one thing I always noticed was every time it was Burr, it's like, oh, that's a Vich. Novs are much easier to see because N in Cyrillic is what an H looks like in I don't know the proper alphabet to call it, but you all know what I mean. And then the a V is a B, so it just looks like HOB for American English. So yeah, so this is what Risakova I am something. Yeah, I'm not sure. Oh wait, no, Risakovitz. Something. But I know this one, that's Itzko right there. That's Itzko. Czech in Czechia don't use 23. Okay. Yeah. Well, hopefully those other databases could help. So yeah. So all right. Well, I think I actually caught up. I'm gonna kind of scroll back because I did skip a lot of Weeping Scorpions here. Hello. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, I missed you. Our Faroe Islands representation. So everyone kind of jumping in every here and there. Neek, does everyone now have 64 group/colors on Ancestry DNA? I don't know if I've gotten the most recent update. I know I've heard from some people that got the homepage update, and they are not happy. They are really unhappy. I know that I saw my Ancestry feed beta, which I can't show right now. There's stuff on there that I can't have public. But yeah, it's hopefully they don't make that the main thing, because that's interesting. Yeah. So okay. Anything else? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I did. Saw that. All right. Yeah, Gina, I had to learn Cyrillic because I have Serbian friends. I had to learn Cyrillic for genealogy. I mean, once I started to do the records and stuff, it just became like an impetus to me of like, I need to learn this. But I will say I had an easy time with it because I was in Greek life in college. One of the things they make us learn in Greek life in college is the Greek alphabet. And the Greek alphabet correlates very well to the Cyrillic alphabet. So anyone who knows the Greek alphabet will actually catch on to the Cyrillic alphabet quite well. But I think I did it on previous stream, but I'm just going to do it anyway, is saying it because I can do it fat, alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, zeta, eta, theta, iota, kappa, lambda, mu, nu, xi, omicron, pi, rho, sigma, tau, epsilon, phi, chi, psi, omega. That's from like 8 weeks, I think it was, that I pledged. Had to learn all that stuff. So funny enough, me being Jewish, I actually joined Sigma Chi, which is a Christian fraternity. But I was a legacy. My uncle was the first one to join. And if I remember correctly, he was the first person to be a chapter consul, chapter president, who was Jewish. And actually at the University of Pennsylvania, Phi chapter. So yeah, very cool. But yeah, so if you know that can help, but basically just learning, and it's really, in my opinion, it's honestly not that difficult because most of it lines up. It's just some variations that even you don't even need to know Greek necessarily. There's other things that can help with it too. So like knowing Hebrew was partially helpful because in Hebrew we have bat and vav, which is basically the same letter. It's just different context. If you use vowels, one has a dot in it, one doesn't. But if you're not using vowels, it's the same exact letter. And so when you see Cyrillic languages where the B is pronounced as a V, and then there's a very different letter for the B, it kind of, yeah. So it's, for me, it was a lot of like, I don't know, it all fit together in different ways, but yeah. Narendra, hi, I'm an Indian, Guyanese, Trinidadian American. I feel like that's probably the most American you could probably be, is a true mixture of like, I mean, Indian, you got your South Asia, Guyanese, you've got your Guyana in Africa. Is that, wait, is no, am I getting that wrong? South America, that's right. Why? Oh yeah, because why did I get that? Literally right as I said Africa, I realized I was thinking Ghana. Okay, yeah, I apologize. I should know better, having family in Suriname too. Okay, Trinidadian. Yeah, is Trinidad? Trinidad is the Caribbean, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I got that one right. And then American. I heard that my ancestors in Eastern India related to Southeast Asia. They're related to Austroasiatic in Eastern India and Bihar. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, that certainly does kind of make some sense a little bit. I guess maybe is that like a specific group in India? I mean, you are talking Eastern India, which makes the most sense, obviously, because you keep going east, southeast, and then you start getting into the Austroasiatic islands and all of that. Which actually, let me pull up a map, because this is honestly, if anyone's seen my geography quizzes, which, by the way, Genie Vlogger Clips channel, if you haven't gone and subscribed to that new channel, go check it out. I've been releasing a ton of clips of stuff on there from all these live streams. But if you've watched my geography videos, you know that Asia was not my greatest. So here we have that eastern side, and then getting into the Austroasiatic areas. So yeah, interesting. Okay, let's okay, I'm related to Munda speaking people in Eastern India. That's really cool. That's interesting. But yeah, that's it. You've got quite a mix. Honestly, a true American, a true American mixture. So very cool. Retro Rob Casa, morning late again. Well, morning. Unfortunately, we're not going to be going too much longer. I think I'll probably be ending it soon, but glad to have you even just for a bit. Although it's 4:16, so you've been here for a few minutes at least, so you get at least 10 minutes. Knowing the Greek alphabet also helps reading Latin or vice versa. Yes, it does. It does. I actually took Latin in high school, and then I took it for 1 year in or 1 semester in college too. I kind of wish I didn't, but then maybe I did benefit from it. But I don't know. I just kind of wish I didn't because I kind of wish I learned a language that is much, you can use. Latin is a dead language. It's dead as it can be. It killed all off the Romans, and now it's killing me. But like I thought, Spanish, Portuguese, and now I'm learning Dutch. But I will say I know a lot of various little things in a lot of languages. And I guess Spanish is, I can speak decent enough Spanglish to get by, especially, I worked in a lot of kitchens. And Spanish was actually my first language. I think I've mentioned that before, but my nanny was Guatemalan when I was growing up, basically from when I was born until the age of like 2 or 3. My first words were in Spanish. And then after my Guatemalan nanny, we had a nanny who came from England. And she did not speak Spanish. And then I don't think I really spoke it. I lost Spanish and I can't really speak it now. But if you had met me when I was like a 2.5-year-old toddler, you would have been like, look at this little ginger kid speaking Spanish better than his English. Yeah, okay. Petty Possum, is Ancestry DNA easier to navigate than Family Search? I've been building my tree for a year and suspect I should try doing one of the tests to help. Does Ancestry have more to look at than Family Search? Well, Ancestry versus Family Search, I prefer to build on Ancestry, my family trees, because their system works so well with the records. Family Search does a similar thing, but you have a couple of things to compete with on there. The number one being that Family Search is a collaborative website, meaning that whatever you put on Family Search's tree, other people can come in and change, the few caveats for private stuff. But for the most part, other people can come in and change it, which that is one of the good things about collaborative stuff, because you might have someone come along who's an expert on something that's like, oh, I found all this stuff, and all of a sudden you have a huge thing added to your family tree. But then the downside is people going in and not knowing what they're doing. Very Wikipedia-like. Similar to WikiTree and Genie, they're all collaborative trees. Ancestry, your tree is your own, so you don't have to worry about others changing it. So the way I always work it is I prefer Ancestry and Genie as my main trees. I build everything on Ancestry as my main tree, and then I transfer what I've completed on Ancestry over to Genie as my main collaborative tree. And collaborative trees are beneficial in terms of collaboration, and most especially in terms of finding cousins and letting your cousin, connecting your cousins in to be able to see the tree and add to it, and things like that. So yeah, it varies. Now, in terms of does Ancestry have more to look at than Family Search? Yes and no. They both largely have a lot of the same records. Like if you were to look at all of the records they both have, I imagine somewhere between 60 and 70% of it overlaps. But then both of them have records that are only in their databases for various reasons. Family Search might honestly have more records than Ancestry, just in the sense that Family Search invests so much in getting records digitized all across the world. And right now, they're part of the Ukraine digitization efforts in a big way, in a very big way. So that's awesome. So it varies. So it's really not a one or the other. In my opinion, it's doing both. It's just the biggest question really is, do you build your tree on one or the other? But I will say, if you're going to do a DNA test, especially having done stuff on Ancestry from what it seems you're saying, definitely do the Ancestry DNA test. Now, Family Search doesn't have a DNA part to it, but from Ancestry, you do have a lot of places that you can upload. But yeah. LMAO, I think it still helps, especially with genealogy. Yeah, definitely agree. Jared, have you ever traced so many descendants of a certain family group that when you get your DNA test back up to your third or fourth cousin, you know exactly how they fit in your tree? Yes, I do. And in fact, my Dutch Jewish family tree. So my Nunes Vaz family, my Lopez Diaz family, my Senior Cornell family, even my Ashkenazi Dutch Jewish family lines. The thing is Dutch Jews can trace their lines back to the 1600s, some Sephardic families back to the 1500s and earlier. And so we can see all of this stuff. And so for us, third or fourth cousins, I mean, I see tons of them all over the place. The downside is once you get out to like a third, fourth, or fifth cousin distance, especially if you're coming from a population that's endogamous like Jews are. So endogamy just meaning a population group of people that largely only have children with other people in that same population group for many, many, many generations, leading to both pedigree collapse, meaning cousins marrying cousins, as well as double relation. So basically, you know, imagine if your mom had a sister and that sister married your dad's brother and then had a kid. Well, that kid is going to be your cousin through your mom and a cousin through your dad, double cousins. So that sort of stuff, tons and tons and tons of it. So if you're dealing with that and you have a 19 centimorgan match with this fourth cousin, we know the paper trail is correct, but we don't know for sure if that 19 centimorgans is coming through that line or some other possible way that we're possibly related. Because especially with a lot of these families, we know how we're related in a bunch of ways. So I even have in one of my talks about overcoming Jewish issues with Jewish DNA because of endogamy, I show how the president of the Pittsburgh Jewish Genealogical Society, Steve Jaron, is my cousin in like 6 or 7 ways, 3 of which we know through the paper trail, 3 of which we know through having having tested my parents and a grandmother, and Steve having tested his parents. So yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. Okay, I see someone calling DNA a fraud, which okay, yeah, sure, why not? Yeah, everything that we've done with DNA, all the people in this chat that have reconnected their families, found all these cousins, all the cases that I've solved in terms of adoptees, unknown human remains, and law enforcement cases. Yeah, that's all BS. None of it's true. Okay. We believe you, car care. Karma Gal, does My Heritage have an idea when the updates will be? Mine still hasn't come. I still have the coming soon banner. I get the feeling that they went back to the drawing board and were like, we got a lot of work to do, because they were originally talking about it coming out in the summer, I think it was. And then they did that initial release and they haven't said a word since. So, yeah. Gina, I also only have the banner. I'm starting to feel we might have to wait until next year. Bah humbug. I think so. I wouldn't be surprised if they're aiming for a Roots Tech release or something like that. So, yeah. Katin, hello. Hello, Katin. I don't know if I'm saying your name correctly, but hello. Unfortunately, you're catching us right at the tail end, but you're getting a few minutes in. You got a hello on screen. And if I remember, I think I saw you join the Discord recently. If that's correct, let me know. But wonderful to have you in the Discord, part of the community. And for everybody else that doesn't know, great way to end this. Go check out the Discord server. Lots of great people in there helping each other, chatting about all sorts of stuff. I also do little mentions about things going on with the videos and stuff. And it's also where I do a lot of, I literally ask the audience. I ask my Discord server all the time, hey, what do you guys think of this? What do you think if I did that? Here's a poll, choose this. My famous P. Diddy stream that was after a vote. I gave them options of what to do. Granted, I definitely did it in a way that was like the P. Diddy, but yeah, so great to have you either way. And Sandra, thank you so much for letting me know. Happy birthday to Karma Gal if she's still here as well. Actually, I know she's still here. She just said something. So happy birthday to Karma Gal as well. But yeah, thank you very much. So I think with that, we're gonna end it. There we go. And thank you so much for everybody for joining today. Absolutely wonderful to have you all. Shabbat Shalom to everybody celebrating the Shabbos. But thank you so much. Be sure to keep your eye out for next week's stream. Be sure to keep your eye out on the main channel. New YouTuber Family Tree series episode coming out this weekend if I can get it done in time. Everyone cross your fingers that I can do it. But thank you so much. You all have a wonderful weekend. I am Jarrett Ross, the Genie Vlogger. Bye.